Hello everyone, and today we are back for another top 5 video, and we're going to be talking about the top 5 Loomians from the Heiwa Cemetery. Now this is a sub-route in Route 5, so none of the Loomians from Route 5 will count to the list, just the Loomians that are found at the cemetery. So with that out of the way, let's head right onto this list. So number 5 onto this list is going to be Terafly. Yes, grubbies can be found here, and you can have a Terafly. Yes, I could also count Teraclaw on this list as well, but I won't. I'm going to talk about that when we talk about Route 7 and when we get Garbantus. But Terafly is a very interesting Loomian because it might be the best bottom Loomian in this series. Because this thing can be scary if used correctly. Its ambush ability can be very devastating, has solid offensive coverage, and it hits decently hard. The problem is that every time I use a Terafly, though, either I'm not using it correctly, or the opposing player isn't scared, and then they live the super effective hit, and then one-shot my Terafly, because Terafly is extremely frail. Unlike Swolder, who hits harder, also having a better defensive typing, well, pretty much the same defensive typing, while having better bulk, rejuvenate, and even though it has a little bit less speed, it's not that much of a difference compared to Terafly. Terafly is solid if used correctly, but for the most part, there are so many other Loomians you could rather use over Terafly. And that's why Terafly is in the bottom spot on this list, even though it isn't the worst Loomian in the world. Number 4 onto this list is going to be Luxor. Now, this is controversial because it is in the cemetery, and if you evolve Twilight from the cemetery, it becomes an Umbra. But I just want to talk about Luxor one more time because I am going to talk about this in Route 6 as well, and this is the weakest of the rats. It does hit hard, it has priority, it has Flash and Flea, it has Luminous Roar that can prevent Dark-type attacks, which is really good. But Umbra is just way better right now because of Chase Down, and it hits a little bit harder while also having that Chase Down threat. Because the thing is, you can run Chase Down on a Luxor, but the problem is that its melee attack is nowhere near as high as its range, meaning that you want to use range attacks on a Luxor. And while it does have Flash and Flee and Fire Breath, which are good moves, it doesn't have like really anything else to make it stand out. And a lot of Loomians can wall a Luxor. Unlike Umbra, even though Umbra has only Dark-type moves, it at least has that Chase Down threat. So if a plant type is in the game, there's that threat of Chase Down KOing that plant type. So there at least is a threat there. When with Luxor, there really isn't that much of a threat. You could probably threaten Dark-type attackers with specialty boots, but that's kind of it. And that's why it's number 4 on the list. Number 3 onto this list is going to be Umbra! Yep, Umbra makes the top 3. And yes, I just talked about Umbra, but it has Chase Down and Overshadow, meaning that it can trap in those plant types and KO it. So even if they want to swap out, too bad. They take damage from Umbra. I also find it to be a little bit more useful as well. Yes, it doesn't have any good ranged attacks, but it doesn't really have any ranged attacks that it moves that could really complement it. Unlike with like Luxor, where the melee moves could be better. Umbra does have great melee attack and a great ability to make it hit harder. It also has priority and bulk up setup, which is awesome. The biggest flaw with Umbra is, same as Luxor and Avatros, it does recoil itself quite a lot if you're not careful. If you use Raging Tackle too many times, you're going to recoil yourself or run out of energy, which is a massive problem. Despite that, though, Umbra can chunk through a lot of melee tanks. It's actually a very solid wall breaker that can do a lot of damage. And even if there are things that resist dark types, which 40% of the meta does, you at least have Chase Down as a threat, which is huge for Umbra, which gives it a massive edge compared to Luxor. And it definitely belongs number 3 on this list. Number 2 onto this list is going to be Ursul. Number 2 and number 1 were really close, but I decided to put Ursul in the number 2 spot. What doesn't your soul have? This used to be an Uber, and it's still really good today. It hits extremely hard, has sharp claws, has double priority. It has shadow sprint and quick punch priority. It has pep jab to hit extremely hard, has slap down, has sharpen, has really good range defense and really good range bulk. Like, the only flaw, really, is that it has no healing moves, and it also is really weak on the melee side. Also, its defensive typing really isn't that good in certain scenarios. Like, it's quad weak to Spirit, it's weak to Lie, like, it's weak to a lot of different priority moves, which that is your soul's biggest weakness. Priority moves. And honestly, most Spirit types have this problem, but the thing is, your soul is a lot slower than all the other Spirit types, and almost every Spirit type has Shadow Sprint, which does make your soul struggle against those Spirit types. That's the reason why your soul is number 2 and not number 1 on this list. But this Loomian is still insane. It has Slap Down, Sharp Claws makes it hit extremely hard, Pep Jab, like double priority. This thing is really good in the late game, and it definitely deserves to be number 2 on this list. The best Cemetery Loomian is Revenine. Like I said, this was extremely close, but I decided to go with Revenine at number 1. Yes, this thing is extremely frail, especially on the melee side, but the thing that makes Revenine so good is that it has an amazing defensive typing, which means it has so many different resistances, meaning it could actually swap in at least once or twice. Not to mention, if a Loomian on your team gets KO'd, you have the secret ability, Vengeance, which can do double the damage. It does double the damage, meaning you could destroy a bunch of different Loomians. And it has really good coverage. It has Fire, Spirit, Stab with Dark coverage, which is really good. You can pretty much hit anything in the game neutrally with that combo. Not to mention that it also has Shadow Sprint priority. And it's honestly the reason why Revenine does have the edge over your soul. The fact that it also has Shadow Sprint, meaning that it could actually hit your souls. Yes, every other Spirit type kind of has it besides Nevermare and Harvest Sack, but still. That gives it an edge that it can actually beat your souls in certain one-on-ones. And that's why Revenine is number 1 on the list. It can also be used as a melee Revenine as well, and it can actually do some work as well, especially against Venolins. Revenine is definitely the number 1 Loomian on this list, because it's one of the best revenge killers in the entire game. And here it is, the best Heiwa Cemetery Loomian in all of Loomian Legacy. The next route we're going is Route 6. So Route 6 Loomians will be next on the list. I hope you guys enjoyed this video of me talking about the Cemetery Loomians, and I will see y'all all later. Bye-bye!